Okay. So let me just, hey, Dr. A, welcome back. We are here. It is December 10th, 2025. And we are here for Trust Your Gut, the December edition. We are coming to the close of this Gregorian calendar year. We are headed into a season of going inward. We're headed into a darker darker days. Um, Although I think this year we've had a lot of experiences of darkness. But what I'm really feeling is this time of going inward, and the time of making home, gathering around the hearth, being warm, reflection, and preparing for the new. So I'm curious, Dr. A, how you're doing and coming into this Wednesday.
Hi, good morning. Rolling with the punches or going with the flow of the waves and currents of the stream leading me towards the ocean. And um as we are sharing the same time zone and same seasonal considerations, it's like I'm aligning with it as much as possible and observing day by day, within the context of Ayurvedic science. It's also the wisdom of noticing and observing patterns internally, externally, and how they interconnect. And, from the simplicity of like the inward reflection through meditative processes or inward intentions of prayer setting, you know, to like what is the prayer this time of year that nature is exhibiting as it is in its slumber going into the winter months? And
Mhm.
what is it not doing and doing during these times of year? And it's like, how are we reflective of the trees that are dormant and the plants that have just completely recycled inwardly the energy and absorbed back into the ground, and like the little critters, the squirrels, the raccoons, like scavenging as much as possible to like go and hibernate and stay within and survive the winter to see what the spring brings in its blossoming of new light. And in the next couple of weeks we get to the darkest point of the year, and there's more darkness during the day than sunlight, and then we just start going back with increasing increments of sunlight with each day as we get into the brightest point, which brings us to June. So it's like this whole
Mhm.
gorgeous celestial solar planetary cycle, and understanding our relationship as part of it, because it's the disconnect from the connection to nature that amplifies the dysfunctions, diseases, and of the mind and body that occur. And these are the things that, we have to understand, not to take for granted, because we came from nature, we are nature, we return to nature. And so there is this equality. And, there was a shloka I've shared many times in, Charaka Samhita that says, Loka Purusha Samya, which is like, you know, as above, so below, or as the macrocosm and microcosm, as I am, so is the universe. These all connected. It's like what is out there is already in me. And these are what the rishis explored, is that they went inward. The rishis, when they designed, you know, this experience of like consciousness being brought and shared to the humans that were seeking these kind of things, it was their relationship that wasn't I'm going outside to find myself, it's I'm going inside to find all that I am. And and then in that simultaneous relationship, you realize, you know, I am the cosmos is me, and it's in me, and I am within it. And so there's a symbiotic relationship. And how beautiful is it that when we watch nature and we see like, oh, it's getting cooler out. It's getting colder out. It's freezing out. It's darker some days. It's darker because of more clouds, and then it's gonna rain or cold snow or all these kind of things. And it's like people that are blasphemous and they're like, I hate this season. I hate this thing. Yeah, but reality is this is what the thing is. So if you're hating the reality of thing, it's that resistance to the thing that's real that creates more suffering. Right? It's like we can't stop the trees from going inward, can't stop the sun from going to its lowest point in the sky to the highest point in the sky. And if you're not happy with where you're at, you get to make the choice to go somewhere else that would support that, or accept where you are at. Because if you're not doing the alternative, which is moving, then why create that unnecessary suffering? And then instead look at each day as like, what's today's adventure? It's like, do we ever
Hmm.
ask this question? And everyone's trying to make the best of each day, and some people have more capacity to go, all right, this is what today is, and let's go with it. Where is it going to bring me? Versus it's not happening the way I wanted. This sucks. Life sucks. This is horrible. All the stories we tell ourselves, right?
Hmm.
And it's like, what do we do to protect ourselves? There's a shloka in Sanskrit I thought we would start with.
Yes, please.
Let's see if I can pull it up. And it's under the title of like importance of vigilance in self-care. And
Hmm.
this means a lot of things. Like, what is self-care? We'll talk about that, and then align it with like what's happening this time of year, what we need to do for self-care. So the shloka is Nagari Nagarasyeva Rathasyeva Rati Yatha Swashashirasya Medhavi Krityasavo Vahito Bhavat. And it says, like the lord of a city and the affairs of his city, and a charioteer in the management of his chariot, so should a wise man, woman, be very ever vigilant in the caring of his own body, right? And it's like, what do we care? Like, how are we caring for the body? It's not just like you do this one thing and this is the thing you do every single day. Like, there are certain things like you should brush your teeth every day. Like first thing in the morning, Dinacharya practices, the daily regimen that we're supposed to adhere to align with the cycle of the day and physiology. You wake up, you brush your teeth. Simple. There should be no waiting till after you eat or tonight or this afternoon. You wake up, you brush your teeth. You poop. You should be pooping in the morning, ideally. And so that's taking care of yourself. If you're hungry, you eat. If you have to pee, you pee because you need to take care of that. When it's time to sleep, you go to sleep. When we're thinking about the essential 13 urges that we've talked about that should not be withheld, you know, um, this is part of self-care. And, and everyone's had some level of stress and trauma to some degree in life. And so we find things externally to put our weight on,
Hmm.
dependency on,
Hmm.
to sort of like feel good, whether it's like chocolate, gambling, shopping, alcohol,
Sex.
drugs, sex,
Hmm.
like whatever the thing is, because these are all the things that can feel good and create a very quick dopamine burst. Um, but then that becomes the addictive process. And so it's like outwardly we should appreciate the things, but inwardly we should also see like where is it really landing? How am I interacting with it if I'm bound to it, right? So this is self-care, like this reflective process, this correlation, this karana karya, this cause and effect of like if I'm suffering, what's the root cause of suffering? Root cause of suffering has many causes. One is a resistance to the current state of reality, and I don't like the weather, and this is horrible, and I have to drive in it, I have to do this. And it's like spending all that energy, it's just a mental turbulence. And it's like, is it worth it? Like, it's like maybe to reframe the intention of the day and go, how do I start the day by creating the intention? What's the adventure for today? Because this is part of self-care. It's very subtle. It's psychological. It's like, how do I set the intention? And setting
Hmm.
the intention, I'm like affirming, like, what's the adventure for today? And adventure is neutral. So it's not saying, I want all the good things to happen to me, because then you're getting attached. It's like, maybe some not so good things might happen today, but it's still part of
Yes.
the adventure today.
Hmm.
And and then it's like, how is it landing as far as like the attachment to it, to the things, um, and in the process, how am I taking care of myself throughout the day? And nature comes to this pause, right? It expands in the spring and it's abundant in the summer. Everything is just fruitful and bountiful and radiant. And it's like, oh, I like summer better than winter. Yeah, but it's like going to sleep at night. Do you hate going? Some people might hate going to sleep. There are people that actually hate going to sleep. There are people that are afraid of going to sleep. They have anxiety about
Yes.
going to sleep.
Yes.
So this is the real thing, and this is a whole
Hmm.
different level of pathological processes, mental and physical. But in a normal general state, it's like you're going to sleep, you're going inward, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
meditate, you go inward. When you do yoga nidra, you're going inward. When you're doing shavasana, you're going inward. When you're doing Tai Chi Qigong, you're moving the external, but you're
Mm-hmm.
internally cultivating something, right? So this is all self-care. And it's like, how do we reframe in our minds the things that we suffer and struggle with? It's always shifting perspective. And there's never a disadvantage to like reframing and thinking more on the positive side of things. But also not to go to extreme with positive thinking being like devoid of present state reality and your spiritual bypassing and all these things, because that's the opposite
Mm-hmm.
end of the
That's right.
spectrum.
That's right.
And so that's not good either.
Well, I want to just pause you for a second because, one of the things that I think is really feels resonant with me also as a coach and someone who, when I'm working with leaders, I mean, I feel this in my own body and also for the folks that I work with. Um, this idea that like to direct your attention outward, to be externally focused, and then also seeking, trying to get some need met externally, right? This is where that is not inherently bad. And also,
Mhm,
right, when we're with, to your point, through this lens of balance, right? When we get to imbalance, what leads to some form of sickness or dis-ease? It is the like I must feed the unmet need with something externally, whether
mhm,
that is actual food, right? And whether it is like, oh, the craving is for dopamine. So this chocolate is going to keep giving me these hits way longer than when I'm hungry. I'm not even hungry
mhm,
for chocolate, right?
mhm,
Or this glass of wine or these glasses or this bottle of wine or but it can also be like, oh, I'm going to pay attention to everyone else. I'm going to focus on what everyone else needs and offer my care externally. And that can become addictive, right? That can
mhm,
become a pattern that we're unconsciously operating from. And then it leads to what gets called chronic, right? It becomes this ongoing imbalance that is now systemic. It like lives in your
mhm,
body as a habituated way of operation to the point where like we start to identify with it.
mhm.
Oh, I'm a caregiver or I'm a caretaker. I really hate these people, that I'm a people pleaser, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah.
the judgment comes. And then we get addicted to the judgment. So I wanted to connect to also like what is happening with this outward focus that is out of alignment and how Ayurveda um, is really thinking about this.
Mhm. Well, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna are having this conversation where, Krishna is talking to Arjuna and saying, it's important to take hold of the reins of the horses, which are the five senses,
Hmm.
and the one that's holding the reins is the charioteer. And when you let
Hmm.
go of the you know, the ties to the horses, then the senses go awry. They're just wild. And so the
Hmm.
five senses are the mechanisms involved in through the physiology, through the body, but not limited to the body, that gather information in the world. So if they're unruly, of course they're going to gravitate to the object of their own attraction. So, we talked a few times about like the three primary causes of disease, Satmendriyata Samyoga, um, you know, uh, Pranaparada and Parinam. And so
Hmm.
Satmendriyata Samyoga is like misuse of the senses. And that means like overuse, underuse, inappropriate use of the senses and all the five senses from what you're hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, and tasting. Because these senses are going to be unruly. They're going to be gravitating towards the object of their own attraction, of course.
Hmm.
But the charioteer, which is more like the manas and state of buddhi and intelligence making the decisions, goes, yeah, I don't have to like go after all these things. And it's like one, we are meant to enjoy the things in the world because we are in this world and it's a very fleeting moment in time that we are in this particular body. But to the degree that it's causing, becoming the cause, the karuna, um, of the effect of ill health, that's where we have to be involved in the self-care. That's where we have to make this connection. I have a patient I've been working with her this year, and very lovely woman in her 60s. And her primary intentions are like she's not happy with how she's aging faster, and she's like having issues with her sacrum and displacing the joints, and she has condition on her elbow right now. It's a ganglion cyst, and the objects of her senses that she's been doing for over 40 years is consisted of cannabis intake, cigarettes, and alcohol, and sexually. She's also been in that direction. She's married and has multiple children and all these things. And, decades of these kind of behaviors. And when you go further into the history, she had a traumatic childhood. And so the remediation, as we all try to do until we figure out how to mentally digest things, is through something that makes you feel good as quickly as possible. So,
Yeah.
and that includes any behavior that consists of, I don't want to feel this.
Mm-hmm.
So in that
Mm-hmm.
moment, that's self-care. That's authentic
Yes.
because
Yes.
because it's what the mind is capable of digesting. And if
Yes.
it's not digested, it's undigested. And it's understanding through compassion and non-judgment, like, that was the first thing. The tool of like how to navigate through harsh emotions were not easily given growing up to many people.
No.
Why do we live in a society, especially the generations after 1999 with the onset of the technology, that everyone's
Mm-hmm.
asphyxiated? Asphyxiated.
I think asphyxiated, but also I want to say something. Appreciate that you spoke to the generational piece, um, because there are also different ways that we've been taught to survive. So to your point, I think
Yeah.
that structurally and culturally, right, if you've received messages that families have internalized, whether they were immigrants to this country and needed to
Hmm.
assimilate for survival, or whether you were brought here and enslaved and you are the descendants of those who had to
Yeah.
force survive, literally, like if I run, I die. If I stay, I'm
Yeah.
going to die. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to orient towards survival all the time.
Yeah.
And that looks like I don't have a lot of choice. You don't cry. Crying is death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being abandoned is
All of it.
death. So for and then for that to keep showing up, right?
Yep.
I just wanted to slow down because this piece around offering compassion for how we have internalized the ways that we survive,
Yeah.
internalized, right, the strategies for not feeling, to
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
feel
All of it.
discomfort, right? That the compassion and the care and the curiosity that we direct inwards is actually a whole lot of work,
Yeah.
like requires, right? Like,
It is.
right? So I just
And
wanted to kind of
it's easy
amplify
to
that.
gravitate towards a thing externally, like, oh, I just need to snack on something, or I need to
Yeah.
take a puff of the cigarette, or I just want a hit of this joint, or I want to do a shot of this, or I want to go and hook up for like a second, or I want to go hit the slot machines while I'm in this conference in Atlantic City. Like it's like when it's the interesting thing about this process that is you're cultivating through the increased awareness, the relationship to
Hmm.
the increased expansive um omnipresent intelligence in the body that's layered
Hmm.
with all these kind of stories and karmas and soul contracts and stuff. You get to slow down and go,
Hmm.
I get to enjoy this moment. So it's like, oh, I'm having a great time with friends. I'll have a glass of wine because it felt aligned. I'm like, am I doing it because I don't want to feel something? Am I doing it because I need to
Hmm.
disinhibit something? Or is it just like, it's a moment of joy in this moment and it would feel aligned with it? And I'm not attached to if I did it or not, but it felt right. Like, no one wants to do that internal jumping jack really
Yes.
exercise. So like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm spontaneous. Someone has a joint, someone has a line of cocaine, someone has a thing. Like, yeah. And it's like, if you pause and check in, you make choices from that place,
Hmm.
Because otherwise, the object of the senses could be like, I'm driving past, let's say it's me, I'm Italian. I'm driving past Italian pastry shops. I'm going to want to eat a pastry with every Italian pastry shop I
Hmm.
ever see. So if there's 10 on the street, am I going to eat each one? Or I could say, well, I just had lunch, and if I eat that now, it's not going to be conducive to my digestive. So I can either get it and save it for later, or just realize I'll get it next time, right? I
Yeah.
don't need it now, right? But if there's a place like I need this now, then it's like there's the unraveling process to the internal packaging that has to be brought to the awareness of like, and this is all self-care. So internally, when we're reflecting, when we're making choices, when we're kind of excavating, like what are the things that prevent us from making better choices? You know, we can use the senses more properly. So just because that thing is there, uh, I've done cleanses before during birthdays and during holidays, and it's like you can wave any of these things in front of me and I will not touch it because I know like I'm in
Hmm.
this particular process and I'll enjoy it much better next time around. And
Hmm.
it's like, what's the benefit of that? Instead of like, well, a little bit of this won't hurt. Well, that just, sure, it won't hurt. And then like a little bit later, you're like, wow, why did I do that? And I say, well, if I already know that's the outcome, then why do it now so that I can prevent it later?
Hmm.
Yeah, and so
Hmm.
like this woman, for example, she's done her best to get to this point in life, and she's done a lot of incredible work this year. I'm really admiring of what she's gone through this year with the process of Ayurveda and everything she's undergoing. And to touch on her intention of like, I'm not happy with how I'm aging and all these things, and I don't feel good about some things. I'm like, yeah, because physiologically, the cause and effect were these 40 years of things that accumulated in her tissues in such a way that these are the side effects of that.
Hmm.
And it's
That's
like
right.
she did the best she could with her life. And, I'm sure if you were able to get a snapshot of what you were going to look like 40 years from when you were 20, you wouldn't believe it anyways,
Yes.
right? And then it's like when you're 60 after you're 20 and you're like, oh, damn, I'm here now. How did I get here? How am I
Hmm.
suffering? It's like, well, 40 years. Like you can't escape truth. You can't escape the conditions of the body don't ever lie. It tells the story. Where did it come from? It didn't come out of nowhere, you know.
This.
And it's like the self-care is this mental process. The physical process of self-care is like, am I bathing every day properly? Am I going to do some exercise every day properly? Am I connecting with nature by sitting outside or walking around and a hike for 10, 20, 30 an hour? Am I brushing my teeth? Am I eating meals at the right time of day consistently? Like this is the thing that's also important for self-care is consistency. Erratic lifestyle creates erratic conditions for erratic health
Hmm.
issues. It's 1,000%. It's
Hmm.
undeniable. People that
Hmm.
have no schedules, that sleep when they feel like, wake up when they feel like, work when they feel like, eat when they feel like, you're no longer aligned with anything. And you want to be free
Hmm.
spirited, that's great. But when you have osteoporosis, osteopenia, multiple sclerosis, you have, Parkinson's, you have dementia, you have like all these things. Ayurveda is like cause and effect. You want to create certain conditions. You do certain conditions to create those conditions.
Yes. You know, I think this speaks to, in this season, right? We're, thinking about going inward and I have been excavating, so going inward and excavating in this journey around my digestion, and what has presented as chronic, right? What has presented as ongoing pain and fatigue. Um, and one of the things that came up for me in my last appointment with you was around what is being excavated, right?
Hmm.
As we recently did a purge, and of my digestion, a light purge, not full panchakarma.
Hmm.
Um, and we talked about, clearing, almost 30 years of Zyrtec, right? Like this systemic antihistamine that seemed like, oh, this is going to alleviate my allergies in the moment. But then had been taking it for years, was no longer in the moment. And so there was a
Hmm.
suppression of my immune system. But at the same time, I really started to reflect on what else I had been suppressing or repressing,
Hmm.
since, I was a child. And I really started to connect with like the wounding that had not been metabolized,
Hmm.
had not been faced and worked with from childhood that has very much led to many of these patterns that we've talked about.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. And I have a lot of conscious awareness and intellectual understanding, and yet um, the you know it doesn't take away the sting. It doesn't take away, right? And it's not supposed to, right? I think what keeps coming up for me are the ways in which I have been trying to take away the sting or to avoid the sting and not feeling my limits of sadness and grief.
Hmm.
Just getting to and saying, oh, it could be too much. And I might not actually be able to come back, right? That's the fear part that says, oh, I don't know when the grief will end. I don't think it will end. So
Hmm.
I'm going to avoid it. And that has kept me in these
Hmm.
patterns. And so I feel like what's really emerged for me in this excavation process, in this coming in, right, not looking for confirmation outside of myself and medications that say, yes, you do have this problem, and we're going to keep suppressing the pain, um, is creating the space to go in and actually be with it,
Hmm.
and to actually feel the limits of my grief, to
Hmm.
feel the limits of the sadness, because there is an end, there is
Hmm.
a transition into a felt sense of peace or a felt sense of joy. I know this because I've had practice
Hmm.
with other content that is related in my life. So I think that's also what's coming forward for me is the way in which Ayurveda is offering this transformational health opportunity, this invitation into transformation, into
Hmm.
um, the metabolization the born anew, if you will, not born again,
Hmm.
um, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's really coming up for me. Like, yeah, I'm sitting with
Yeah.
that.
And it's like a caterpillar has to go inward into a cocoon before it comes out as a butterfly, right? Nature has to go
Hmm.
inward, animals have to go inward, and before they come back out and robust and reproduce and create more expansion and abundance in all the things, with each season. Like the seasonal cycles have been doing seasonal cycles since time endless, right?
Hmm.
And um for us, it's just using the capacity of the minds that we have to determine, like, let's reflect on life. Like, what's happening in my life that I'm responsible for that's contributing towards happiness and discontent. And, the irony of the emotional capacity is that when we're feeling good with something, it's never enough. When we're not feeling good with something, it feels like it's never going to end.
Yes.
Right. And this is the paradigm of the mental affliction, where it's like the pendulum is in both extremes versus like take the good with the bad equally,
Hmm.
instead of like, I'm attached, I want everything good all the time. Well, the more attached you are to the thing of making good by doing all the things you think are going to perpetuate that goodness, of course, the pendulum's going to swing in the opposite direction because overindulgence never brings full, complete satisfaction. I mean, billionaires, in general, do you think they're truly happy? Right? And there are families that are very impoverished and they have the most plentiful, joyful, valuable like holidays. They might not have
Yes.
anything.
Hmm.
And it's like they didn't get caught up in the capitalism and the thing that the senses are gravitating towards, to like a
Hmm.
greedy place. Right? Greed is, one of the emotions of the urges to be suppressed,
Hmm.
right? And anger and all these kind of things, the five emotions. And it's like these are things that should be suppressed or not expressed, you know, but noted when they come up, like where is it really coming from? And these tools are not taught, right? So we get stressed, we get a little anxious, we get upset, and oh, let me give you a cookie to relax. Let me give you a game in the late 80s, early 90s, like here's a Game Boy. Play with the Game Boy for a little while, you know. And it's like punishment system, people don't like punishment systems, and they think, and it's
Hmm.
like Yeah, there should be punishment because if you don't learn punishment system from a young age, you're going to learn it as an adult. 1000%. You can't go to that job, if your boss is like, "I'm sorry, you have to actually come in tomorrow at 10 instead of 11." And you're like, "What? I don't like this job. I'm going to leave." Well, then you're fired. Right? You can't negotiate, unless it's something significant that you're like, "Oh, I can't have a doctor's appointment." Like that's practical, but it's like in the society that we're living in today, we've gotten more fragile, more sensitive to the point where it's just like what's not comfortable and convenient for me doesn't work for me. But then why am I out of work? Why am I not getting, a bank account? Like it's like, no, you gotta toughen up, buttercup, like we say in
Yeah.
you know,
You have
and
said that to
also
me a few
and
times.
also not to be inauthentic, but also you get to feel. And if you're feeling everything all the time, then it's extreme. Like feel things and then also process, digest, and be in the world where you're
That's
not
right.
debilitated by these feelings. If you're debilitated, that's a different paradigm.
Hmm. It's something, of course, I got hooked on billionaires. I don't believe in billionaires. I don't understand. My brain just doesn't understand that. But at the essence of not believing in billionaires, is the premise that there is a never and there's this inability to be satisfied, right? And
Yeah,
yes, it is the greed. It is greed.
yeah,
It's not a value judgment. It's just a fact that you have way more than you need. And so
yeah.
as you have surpassed the capacity of what you need, and there's an old saying, I feel like old Black folks in my life were like, don't count her pennies. Like you don't get to count or don't count their pennies. You can't count what's in my wallet. No, I can't. But if your wallet can pay for several homes, and there are people without homes, right? If your wallet, and I don't mean one additional home. I mean if you can pay for a town, if you can, if but to
Yeah,
your but it doesn't actually have to be about the material products or your ability to own capital, right? Like your ability
yeah,
to um to change, market conditions. It
yeah.
is the insatiability, the overconsumption, and this constant need to get more, consume more, get more, consume more that doesn't end. That cannot. That is not healthy.
Yeah.
And and so I want to come back to like you know, that part really stands out for me. And as we relate to care, because this is for all of us, whether you're a billionaire or not, you could be a thousandaire, you could be, you could be in
Yeah.
debt financially,
Yeah.
um, and still be seeking
Yeah.
and still be consuming to to meet a need, right? That is not the actual need. Because that seems to be right, like at the crux of it when I feel
Hmm.
into it. And, you know, for me, I'm also sitting with like, well, yeah, toughen up, buttercup. There's also this invitation to expand your ability to tolerate discomfort,
Yeah.
right? To be
We're not
with,
taught that. That's the
and we're
thing. We're not
not,
taught to this like a little bit. It's like be with it, feel it. It's okay to feel it. Like
it's
it's
okay
okay
to
to
feel it.
yeah.
Have your
Like,
big feelings. This is something I talk about with my child, as I was told, like,
yeah.
and I don't judge my parents for this, but right, like, I'll give you something to cry about, or like, why are you crying? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
shut that down, like not acceptable. We don't have time for your sadness. Like
Yeah.
that. It was literally like, we don't have time for this. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
There's not enough space and time for you to process and express and metabolize and get to the edge of
Hmm.
the sadness or your
Yeah.
anger. You're
Yeah.
angry. What are you angry about?
Yeah.
If you are suppressing and you've learned to be ashamed of your anger, then it will become an insatiable need.
Hmm.
It will transition to you constantly seeking outward to get the need met that wasn't met.
Yeah.
And so this is how we get billionaires. Okay. um,
And and you were talking a lot about the inner terrain, and the outer terrain is also the thing that lacks things, right? So it's like the inner terrain lacks a lot of the tools required to help metabolize certain emotional experiences, to use the mental faculties to like digest and like assimilate and things like that. And externally, from the mental field, the physical field, a lot of people aren't taught, especially like, I mean, definitely it's a generational thing, more with the like 90s and moving forward, the lack of structure, lack of day connection, the lack of like cycle of like when you're eating and not eating, and it's like the self-care for mental is like that's not taught. It's not taught like still like, yeah, you should brush your teeth 2 to 3 times a day and you should take a bath and shower once a day for sure. You know, maybe not wash your hair every day because I know some women can't do that every day. Cap it, wash the rest of the body. It's a temple. It needs to be washed every day. And you should be eating your meals per your hunger that's appropriate for the meal times consistently every day. Like these things are not taught. And,
Mhm.
then like lifestyle doesn't allow for that because you have a job that meetings could go from like 12 to 2, which is lunchtime, and it's like, well, then conventional living with these kind of lifestyle factors doesn't make it they don't make it easy for a person to go like, oh, I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at this time. And it's, and well, I have to work a night shift, which is not ideal, but it's the real because we need night shift workers for whatever we need them for. And,
Mhm.
you know, it's like the lifestyle that exists today is not sustainable by anybody. Everyone's overwhelmed, everyone's saturated, everyone's inebriated by all the things so much so that that's what increases the people's sensitivity to things because everyone's nervous system is just completely amplified. And so it's like, but if we keep doing more of that, there's no way of feeling health. There's no way of getting to swasta, which we talked about, like the establishment of health within oneself. When
Mhm.
people are like, oh, I don't want to get sick. Are you doing the things to stay healthy? That's
Mhm.
the thing. You don't want to get sick. But the opposite is to be healthy. But if you're doing the things to be sick, that means you have to do the opposite to be healthy. And it's like, oh, so
Mhm.
much work to do this, and I have to take this herb and I have to do this oil. Well, then you can go through Western medicine, get from 2 medicines to 3 medicines to 6 medicines to 12 medicines. The polypharmacy after three, actually, I was updated. It's no longer like at six, they don't know. It's now after 3 medications, they don't know the interactions fully. And it's
Mhm.
like, and you just keep doing what you're doing, and then you're wondering why you're having constipation, you're having ulcerative colitis, you're having neurological issues, you're having increased anxiety, allergies, depression, insomnia. If you look at the lifestyle, it's going to correlate, right? So, and what Ayurveda is a little bit of a slower moving system, but if you think about time has moved, it's been, I mean, just our planet is how old
Mhm.
it's,
Yes.
and it's like to us, we're only like a fraction of 80 years of the piece of the puzzle, like how long the earth has existed for, right? And it's slow. And but our life is very quick in comparison. And it's like this relationship of being humble and understanding like I have to do the best with, my self-care. Like that shloka said, it's like I have to be responsible for myself and take as much into account like responsibility, but I have to be taught that I am responsible for my health, right? And
Mhm.
it's like if I'm having conditions, what conditions brought me to this condition or series of conditions? They didn't come out of nowhere. And if you don't want to change the conditions that brought you here, then of course you're going to get more conditions. I mean, how could you not think that that's going to be the case? Oh, I don't want to
Mhm.
feel allergies, so I take an antihistamine or any of these kind of things. Well, where do you think it goes? Oh, I don't want to feel this emotion. Where do you think it goes when you don't feel it? Do you think it just evaporates? No, it
Mhm.
becomes a magnet and for more of its kind until that dam can't handle the things and things break and then a person breaks down with disease, mental, physical. These things didn't accumulate out of nowhere, right? They came from somewhere. Nothing comes from nothing. Of course not. You know, this is very simple, original philosophy from all the major
Yeah.
cultures from Greece to India. Like nothing comes from nothing. There has to be something for something to come from. It doesn't just come out of nothing. There has to be something, however subtle our minds can address at that level, the potential, you know. It's like there's a field of potentiality in the entire universe. Like nothing comes out of nothing. And so if you're having diseases, what did you do to contribute to that? And,
Mhm.
this can go 10,000 different ways. Like, what about that 6-year-old or that 6-month-old or that 6-day-old that died? after it was just given birth to. Like, of course, but whatever they died from didn't come out of nowhere. This is where Ayurveda takes it to the next level and says, clearly it was the individual's karma just to experience the 6 days, and the parents are left with the seeds of that grieving process, and that's part of their bigger picture relationship to their life in this world, in this time, right? It's easy to say that, you know, um, and Ayurveda helps you to metabolize it by giving it a potential, like it could be this, and it was the baby's time just to live 6 days on this planet, and that's all it needed for its own karmic soul process. And it's not easy. I mean, anytime there's a loss, the people that are left behind are the ones that feel it the worst.
That's right.
Right? The ones that have left, they have deliberation, right? So like all these are tools that have to learn. And Ayurveda has a vast toolbox for every single aspect of life from beginning, middle, and end, before and after. Like Ayurveda covers all the bases and it gives you the tools, and it's a matter of integrating it within the context of your swasta, your capacity to be within your state of health, which encompasses this whole field of like, what did you come into this life with? What is your karma? We look at these things through the Jyotish and the astrology, and there are always tools, to understand like where are you at within your own individuality amongst the unification of all beings, like
Yes.
that's the typical Sanskrit prayer, that's a Vedic Sanskrit prayer in yoga classes, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, right? May all beings and all planes be happy and free. It's not just cutesy spiritual mysticism. It's like
Mm-hmm.
literally, may all
Mm-hmm.
beings and all planes be
Yes.
happy and free, which means this planet isn't just the only all beings,
That's
all
right.
planes. It's not just from continent to continent. It's from planet to planet to like
Mm-hmm.
other entities, wherever they are. Like, be happy and free, which is the intention that like the moksha, the liberation comes from like knowing like we all deserve this and we all at some point
There.
end up in this place of freedom. And what binds
Yes.
us to non-freedom is attachment. There's a difference between this attachment and appreciation. I can appreciate a glass of
Yes.
wine when I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm not attached to it. Every time I make a choice if I'm going to have a cocktail, if I'm going to indulge in whatever we're eating during dinner, dessert, no dessert, etc., I'm quick to just say, and I'm using myself as an example, yes, yes, wine today, no wine today. Yes, tiramisu
Mm-hmm.
today, no tiramisu today. I'm going to do that. Like, it's sharpening the faculties. Am I
Mm-hmm.
perfect? No, because I have my own things that I contend with, but I live very well with Ayurveda as my backbone to a lot of the things. And if I do get something, which I do get sometimes, I'm like, I know where this came from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it either, but I made the choice or series of choices that brought me to this cascade. And so the tools are brought to us. So nature is the teacher, as we wrap up today's talk. And it's like the internal tools are to be cultivated. The external cool tools, as far as like, what's the day look like today? If it's going to be cold, heavy, or rainy, then the food should most likely accommodate the opposite quality. Now, for some constitutions, it's like, oh, it's cold and rainy. I want to make a cheesecake. Well, you can make the cheesecake and enjoy the cheesecake. It probably will feel more heavy. And you might be like, well, I just want to emotionally support myself today. But then tomorrow, excuse me, tomorrow I'm like, oh, I'm congested or I feel heavy or tired and can't get out of bed. Well, it's because I ate the cheesecake on that rainy, snowy day in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or it was, metabolized properly because it wasn't so cold, heavy, and rainy. Or I decide on that cold, heavy, rainy day, I'm going to make a soup that's going to have like ajwain seeds and turmeric and some ginger and some scallions and put some rice with some, whatever protein. And as I went to the opposite quality, it's like, what is the opposite quality of the thing? Because if I keep doing the thing that's of like nature, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get more of the same thing. So, there's a shloka in Charaka that's also, samanyam, let's see, sarvaya sarvabhavanam samanyam vriddhi karanam rasa hetu visheshacha pravritir vayasatu. So basically, it's the generic concomitants, or it's the like increases like opposites resolve, opposites
Mm-hmm.
cure, opposites bring balance. So it's like, if you keep doing more of the same thing, you get more of the same thing. If you do the opposite
Right.
thing, you get the balance of it. And
So, yeah.
So nature, it's like you're going inward because nature's saying to you, it's winter time, you know.
Yes.
Well, we have all these festivities, holidays, parties, events, and this is the time of year as we come to the solstice. And then January is the time of year when we really feel the lull, the depression, because
Yes.
after all this busyness that kept us from feeling things and drinking so much, and or we are enjoying company so much, and now everyone's dispersed, everyone's broke, everyone's all these kind of things, and now you're like, it's cold. There's no party now.
Yes.
Nothing's happening. No holiday. And I was like, yeah, go inward and meditate, rest properly. You just went from the other end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum and follow the day cycle. Like, what are you doing? You know, the tools for external consideration would be like, you should not be wearing flip-flops this time of year. You should not be wearing sweatpants with a jacket on. You should not be going outside without a hat and the ears
If
aren't
you
cut.
live in a cold climate.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
like Ayurveda said, because we're talking about cold climate, we're talking about this time of year, and it's
Hmm.
like Ayurveda says very specifically when it comes to like Ritu Sandhi, the seasonal transition, dress appropriate for the weather,
Hmm.
right? That doesn't mean, well, I know I go to the gym, so I'm gonna go from my house to the gym and just put some shorts on and wear some sneakers and just call it a no, cover your legs
Hmm.
because
And your head.
the ele hmm?
And your head.
And your head because the
Hmm.
elements are prominent. They will
Hmm.
infiltrate. So if you're wondering why you get stiff legs later in the year at certain times of year, or you're feeling like joint issues, it's because you didn't dress properly. Or people that wear
Hmm.
like flip-flops, and I see this now. It's so funny. Flip-flops with socks on, and they have shorts, and then they're going to the gym, and I'm like, what are you doing? This is not dressing proper for the weather. Like
Yes.
this is not proper intelligence, right? Pranya parada, misuse of intelligence, right? So that's the
Hmm.
second cause of disease. And it's like you're not making the right choice. Just put a scarf on and put a hat on. If you're going to go outside really quick, put a scarf on and hat on because you're at least covering the senses. When most of you's covered, that's great. Don't go barefoot. Don't, all these kind of things because these are the things that creep in the background. And your food should match what the season is, and your lifestyle should be really aligned with nature. Like this is the thing, but this is common sense, but common sense is uncommon, like they
That's
say.
right.
And it's like we're not taught that this is what you should be doing. Everyone's like, just
Hmm.
whatever I feel like doing today. I'm just gonna no, you should not just be whatever you feel like doing because this is
Hmm.
just a certain level of like, I don't want to feel this. So just I'm gonna push it to the side.
Hmm.
No, these are the little things that creep up in the background, and you're like, why did I get this condition? And it repeats itself. So this is the this is the hamster wheel.
That's right. Well, I feel affirmed in like this deep desire that I have to keep saying no to things going into the holiday season. And when you just spoke to that January crash, I'm like, oh yes, that makes so much more sense now for me when it's like, oh, everybody's left, it's quiet. We have to take the Christmas lights down for us. That's like a big thing for me is like when the lights go away and then it just feels like gloomy, dark winter.
It's
Um,
bleak.
it's bleak. It's bleak. I'm like, okay, it's New Year's. Like, let's just get to spring now.
Yeah.
But I think that this the invitation that I've really been feeling in my body that I'm listening to is this time to come in, to go in, and to notice what are the things that I'm trying to satisfy. Um, what am I trying to avoid? And seek outward, whether it is the Christmas cookies, and I have my favorite ginger spice cookies, or
Yeah, yeah,
right? And what's the choice, right, that's available to me? How can I practice being attentive to what I'm attached to and what that, and getting curious with it,
yeah.
having less things to do, and this is just what works for my brain, allows me to be more present and setting the intention
Hmm.
going into this period, this season, to notice what needs I'm trying to get met
Yep.
in all of the connection and events and activities, and really just to
Yeah.
be um, attentive from within. That is the call for me. So I think that is what I'm going to take into my winter solstice
Yeah.
reflection time
Yeah.
next week and set some intention around that.
Well, and always note, this we can say it spiritually, we know that no matter how dark, something is, the fact that you're aware of it is still the light that's always present.
Yeah.
That awareness is what's the
Hmm.
light that's always ignited and present. It might flicker, but it won't go out.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter how dark some moment feels, right? There's a moment where you might feel like, and this is consciousness. Consciousness is that compassion and that lightness in light that says, even if someone is conscious and you're like, oh my God, I'm just so overwhelmed right now. I just can't deal with this right now. I'm just gonna deal with this later. Like
Yes.
it's not like I'm not dealing with this at all. I'm gonna just make believe it doesn't exist. Different consciousness,
Hmm.
different quality of consciousness. One's more tamasic, one's more sattvic.
Hmm.
Tamasic is that heavy, like I'm just going into that dullness, and that dullness is going to be whatever's going to numb me. No, it's
Yes.
just I would not be numb if I'm saying it's just so overwhelming right now. I just got to take a break from this. I might take a pause from something that's overwhelming. I'm offering tools as part of like not just
Hmm.
the daily rituals, but like as a mental tool.
Hmm.
Ah, I'm making a conscious choice. If something is overwhelming right now, I just need to take a pause, take a little nap, take a walk, talk to a friend for that space. You know, um, watch a movie, like anything that's going to give you a moment just to kind of like sit with it without if you're feeling overwhelmed, but get to it. And if you have to slow down and like chew on it a little bit and pause, chew on it a little. And again, we all, many of us have this kind of weak muscle with emotional processing, but just know like you don't go to the gym if you've never been to the gym thinking you're going to pick 200 pounds up. Right? You
That's
start
right.
with 20-pound weights and you build up in 6 months, 8 months, you're at 200 pounds. That emotional processing is like a result of mental atrophy due to lack of tools. As you have to build up the strength mentally, you go like, oh, I don't have to like pause this as much. I don't have to slow it down as much. And there's always going to be something you have to slow down because this is just the nature of being human. But
Hmm.
these are the tools that, and nature will teach us inward, outward, upward,
Right.
downward. And what doesn't get processed, it goes sideways.
Hmm. It spills out and over.
Yeah. So these are the
Yeah.
tools to offer for this time of year that Ayurveda would say for consideration for self-accountability, self-reflection, self-responsibility. And it's like you are the maker of your own reality. Like it's like they say in Willy Wonka.
Yes.
Right? So it's like you're the maker of your reality. So be the Willy
Yeah.
Wonka of your
Hmm.
reality and have fun.
I love it.
Just
There
don't
were
be
two.
attached.
Listen, you gave two incredible quotes for this Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries, or we're in Pisces right now. Um, and one is make the reality you want. This is very Saturn and Neptune together in Pisces. Neptune being the desire to escape reality or to create a new reality.
Yeah,
And Saturn saying, nope, but let me give you the skills, right, to
yeah,
be anchored. And then you said you can't escape the truth. Also, an invitation to work with Neptune and Saturn conjunct in Pisces coming together. You cannot
yeah,
escape
yeah,
truth.
yeah, you
Um,
can't. Right. And
so
in Willy Wonka, the actual quote is, we are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams.
that is so Neptune and Pisces. Yes, we are. Yes, yes, yes. Coming together with Saturn, we can construct, bring to form.
Yes.
Neptune in Pisces, the dreams, bringing them forward. So I want to thank you. I'm so giddy, as per always, to be with you. You inspire such a commitment to healing and transformation, to like really choosing to make the life you want, and to doing the hard work to live well.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Yes. And then till we meet again next month, stay tuned.
Yes, we're going to come back in 2026 We
And
will
I
see
can
you
always be
all.
found. I can always be found here in Philly, and I do telehealth sessions. So no matter where you are in the world, and my website is stillpointayurveda.com. Um, and come one, come all, because I'm always open to new patients and exploring the journey that each client brings to the picture. Because it's always, uh, it's not me versus you, me or you. It's me as you as me, and us.
Hmm, that is so, I confirm. Um, Please check out Dr. A. Uh, what a great invitation. I want to thank you. And I want to wish you a wonderful solstice, beautiful time going inward and coming back. And as you said, awareness is the light that is always present. Yes, let us connect with the light. All right, y'all. Trust your gut. I'm going to stop.